Hello, welcome back.
Oh.
If you left when we said goodbye the first time,
Go back.
in last
watch
week's
the rest of the
episode, go back and watch the
and then
extra
come
scene.
back here, and then maybe have a nap.
Because we also
water.
did Irie's scene here.
Yeah. So we're pounding through it. Fairly
That
quickly.
was very, obviously ethically questionable.
Yeah. It's cool. It's a cool little thing of showing us the character of Irie a little bit more deeply, because so far I feel like the way that Irie, most of the adults fall into this, but Irie in particular is are you supposed to trust him or are you supposed to suspect him? Whereas now we're just getting into his headspace, right? He's getting to a smaller degree that Takano opening treatment. We're learning exactly why he does what he does and why he's a conspirator.
Yeah.
Because in the murder mystery sense, we should bring this back. We don't talk about murder mystery as much on the show.
No, because it doesn't really matter.
No, it doesn't. But in the murder mystery sense, Tomitaki and Irie are the accomplices to Takano's mass murder, right? And so we're learning why they would even fucking conspire with her to do this in the first place.
Yeah.
And it seems like what it boils down to more or less is that Tomitaki was hopelessly in love, and Irie was just I don't know, maybe it's fine. I've done bad things too, and I turned out like a better person. So what are the chances of this getting worse? Right? That's kind of the vibe I get from it.
Yeah, I will say, in that murder mystery sense, Irie is a lot more guilty than I expected him to be.
Yes, he's very culpable.
I figured he was involved in one way or another, but I felt like he was being coerced more aggressively.
Yeah.
Almost as though he was another victim of the incident rather than a perpetrator.
He is a victim though. Let's not forget the city
yeah.
where he's murdered and he committed suicide because he couldn't deal with all those crimes he did.
But
which is in character for him.
I'd figured that those positions were more mutually exclusive than they are.
Yeah.
In that Irie is responsible, but also a victim and being coerced, right?
Yes.
I thought that he was just being coerced and was a victim. I didn't realize,
how much autonomy he had, so to speak. Yeah. Well, that's the thing is that we saw this in the sort of intro chapters that he's just fucking blindsided. He's at one of the worst moments of his life. He's been disgraced in the medical field, and they're have $1 billion and a cake. Right? It's not coercion as much as it is a big fucking carrot.
Yeah.
Which
and I
is
guess
still
the other thing
manipulative, let's be clear.
Yeah. I guess the other thing is too that even saying that he has autonomy here, if he'd expressed that autonomy, he would have just been removed.
For sure.
It's one of those weird positions that I think is a very ethically regular quandary.
Sure.
In society, which is that something unethical is happening and I would rather be the one doing the unethical thing so that someone I trust less isn't.
Sure.
I feel like that's a position that I see a lot when it comes to ethics debates, particularly when you look at leadership structures like what's going on here.
Yep.
Where realistically Irie could just palm it off and let someone else do it. But because he knows that he is still interested in actually helping the town, because he knows that he still has the knowledge and skill to do something about it, he would rather not let someone more vulnerable and less ethically sound than him come in. And I think that's kind of what that last stretch where he was talking about his actions in the past were about, where he's I've made these mistakes, I've learned from them, so I can do the best to stop this getting out of control, even though he's wrong.
Yeah, we'll probably talk more about this after I kind of brush up on my notes, but that whole discussion that I had back in Sumo Horoboshi where I was talking about when they were throwing people in psychiatric wards and nobody really cared about what happened to them. Irie is, as a figure in this story, supposed to represent the doctors who actually care. Even though these wards as a whole don't fucking care about your mental health, Irie is one of those doctors who's I'm actually in this to help people. I'm not just in here to work with the system and perpetuate status quo and just do whatever, he's doing it in a really ethically questionable way. He's trying to explore the boundaries of brain surgery and lobotomizing living people and all this other shit. but like he's doing it because he wants to help people. Even if these system that he's in and the situation that he's in is causing bad shit to happen.
Yeah.
And obviously this scene that we just had there, that's just the tip of the iceberg, right? It's like, maybe we should grab someone who's about to die and just like lobotomize them. Wouldn't that be cool? And like, I mean, we see where they end up. But yeah, I know. I like Irie as a character, in that's like what he represents. He represents like the quote unquote good side of like the medical field while still being a very like questionably ethical character himself.
It reminds me a lot of that episode we loved from Elementary.
Yep.
In the hospital.
The guy's like, everybody should just, if they want to die, they should die. And that's fine, right?
If you want to go check that out, Death of the Reader, our episode of Elementary, I'll put a card up for it.
Do it.
All right, what are we doing now?
We're doing, I believe, the top left panel here. I'm going to double check. Because my phone, it goes to sleep every 30 seconds.
I guess this one makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, Irie's background.
Are we certain? We're certain?
We're on screen 3, right?
We are on screen 3.
That's the one.
All right, I'm clicking it.
His reminiscence is required. I've wanted to become a doctor ever since I was little. Doctors make a lot of money.
Yeah.
And I assume we're gonna explore the exact thing I was talking about a second ago in this flashback. So this is great.
I just hope we've made it clearer than Ryukishi is about to.
People look up to doctors. I think those are the kind of reasons I had. So when I played with my friends, I always acted like a doctor. I cleaned their wounds and applied ice packs when my friends sprained their ankles, using what I learned from household medical books. Everyone, including me, believed that I would be a doctor one day. Fucking compare this to Takano's reasons for becoming a doctor, quote unquote. Right? It's great. My family was poor, so they praised me for that goal. They told me that I needed to study a lot to become a doctor, so they bought some pseudo-medical books in the local library for me.
I'm curious as to the use of the word pseudo in this.
Yeah, I don't know what pseudo means.
Let's carry on.
I guess it's like a poor library or something.
Yeah, because normally you think pseudo anything like in terms of information, and it's like fucking
witchcraft.
Yeah.
Yeah. The rental fees weren't cheap.
I guess this is kind of just leading into his thing about lobotomy, now that I think about it.
Yeah, so I would speed read one book in that day, and the next day, my parents would go back to the store to exchange it for a different book, saying they accidentally borrowed the book they already borrowed before. By doing so, my parents bought 2 books for the price of 1. Of course, now I know these books were rather useless, but they were highly motivational, just the same. I liked looking at the pictures. My neighbors called me Dr. Kyosuke-kun, and I was always picked for class health officer at school. Even my teachers helped me with the classes I needed to take to become a doctor. Of course, in reality, becoming a doctor isn't as easy as it might seem. I had to study diligently, and the path was most definitely rough. To become a doctor, one must attend college. Since my family was poor, I was told I wasn't allowed to go to an expensive private school, so I had to be admitted to a national public university. My grades weren't bad, but the admission rate to national public university is very marginal. Especially since I wanted to go to a medical school, my chances were even smaller. I studied like crazy.
And then I lobotomized the school board.
Oh, and I made them do my will. My only driving force was my childhood dream of becoming a doctor. Oh, the dream of becoming a doctor and to be looked up to by everyone kept me going. Boy, that'd suck if you were disgraced by the medical field. Get fucked. Hate this. And I was admitted. I wasn't at the top of the list, but I made it in. I was finally at the starting point of making my childhood dream come true. My parents were thrilled. Neither my father nor mother went to college, so they were proud of their son getting into a public medical school. They invited our relatives over to celebrate. Although it was a public university, tuition wasn't cheap, but still, they had an extravagant celebration anyway. My father didn't express his emotions much. He always kept a straight face. He rarely voiced his opinion or took initiative on anything. My mother took care of everything, and he showed up last and left without saying a word. He was the typical stern and silent Japanese father of the time. That's why I was surprised to see him shedding tears of joy, and I cried along with him. He went around to all my relatives while repeatedly slapping my back, saying how proud and lucky he was to have a son like me. He bragged about my achievements to all that would hear them. The celebration became my farewell party as I was about to leave for Tokyo. My father yelled "Banzai!" repeatedly at the station as the train pulled away. I was a little embarrassed, but when I could no longer see my father, I could clearly recall the tears pouring down. The days of hellish studying and exams began after that. Some days I was tempted to just give up and submit myself to the lavish lifestyle of the city, but the letters from my family always encouraged me and gave me the strength to go on. My dream then was to open up my own clinic in my hometown so I could contribute to the region. I never even dreamed of getting involved with brains. Good way of phrasing it. One day I noticed a difference in a letter from my family. The letter said the usual things about how it was at home and asked how I was going, but the postscript was what caught my attention. Your father has become very violent lately. Sometimes he turns the house upside down and I don't know what to do. I just couldn't picture him acting viciously. I was extremely surprised. Did something happen? But in the postscript, my mother said that there was nothing she could think of. My mother and father had been together for a long time. They'd been together since well before I was born, so she noticed things that I couldn't. She couldn't even think of a reason why my father had become so violent. What happened? They got along so well, they were such a lovely couple, but when I caused a problem for my mother when I was little, my father only bumped my head with his knuckle. Why was he acting this way towards my mother? Maybe there was some kind of misunderstanding between them. I was going home for the new year. Maybe I could have a good talk with him then. Did you get a piece of rebar through the frontal lobe? Wink, wink. I still haven't looked at what that guy's name is. I feel really bad. I'm like, bringing up every time we talk about frontal lobes. I'm like, yeah, there was this one study with this one guy with the mining equipment. Somebody will let me know in the comments like 10 episodes ago. Anyway.
You'll get a piece of rebar through your frontal lobe and you'll write it to yourself in the comments.
Yeah, exactly. But the situation was a lot more serious than I thought. On one cold winter day, I found my apartment door unlocked. I thought someone had broken in, but I found my mother in the apartment with her luggage. That's right, my mother could no longer take my father's ferry and come to stay with me. This is back when people still believed in the proverb, a woman has no place to settle down all her life. She couldn't go back to her own family because they lived in the same region as my father, so she came all the way to Tokyo. The place, not the people. I heard about my father's violence from my mother's own lips. She cried, saying she had no idea why such a quiet man changed like that. She said she wasn't ever going back to him. I didn't know what to do. I asked her if she could talk to him one more time, but the bruises on her body told me it was no use. To remember what happened afterwards is too much, so I will be brief. After my mother left, my father thought she was having an affair and went over to the neighbor's house with a wooden sword. He was arrested. He was released immediately, but he assumed someone in the neighborhood was hiding her, so he did the same thing repeatedly. He eventually reached the point of getting into fights with anyone he saw. At the end, he picked a fight with some young punks and ended up being beaten to death.
That's not how I was expecting that scene to end.
Yeah, I thought he'd get imprisoned or something. Yeah, well, you know what? Get fucked. Get fucked, old man. My relatives gave my father a decent funeral, but my mother did not attend. It's no use beating a dead horse. So nobody said anything negative about my father, but everyone was simply puzzled as to why he changed so much. What I heard from my relatives about my father's final days was a lot stranger than what I heard from my mother. My mother only told me about his sudden rage and violence, but my relatives told me he also laughed and grew sad. There it is, emotional control. Apparently, he displayed several sudden fluctuations of emotion, especially so in his last years. They also told me that he started to complain about headaches after an accident he had in a mining accident. Oh my god, are we actually going to go there? My father was a construction worker. Look, I'm excited. Oh, it was a construction board. Oh, Higurashi. He had hit his head hard on a construction board during an accident at work. He regained his consciousness quickly and seemed fine. But since the accident, he started to have headaches and behave abnormally. I sense the connection between the accident and my father's changes, so I talked to my professor after I went back to Tokyo.
Then I dug him up out of the ground and resurrected him with lightning.
You want to play this professor character? By you wanna, I mean you are.
Okay, give me a pitch for the voice.
Oh, I don't know. This guy is in the anime. I don't fucking know. What do you think? I am some kind of psychic?
Yes.
I am seeing in your future an old man with glasses. But he's quite stern.
I can't say for certain, but it sounds like it's possible your father suffered some kind of brain damage. There's a chance that blow to his head caused an organic mental disorder. The symptoms your father showed in his final years are similar to the delirium and mental fluctuations we've often seen in similar patients.
Human behavior is created by the brain, and if the brain is damaged, it can cause erratic behavior. In other words, my father wasn't crazy. He was suffering from a disorder that made him crazy.
This has been a lot of pages to say exactly that when Irie said he wasn't going to take too long to say it.
He was like, I will be very brief, and then he went into excruciating detail, and now he's having a flashback conversation with his professor.
It's like, it's an interesting point of characterization where he's dwelling on it even when he said he
for sure.
wasn't, but just my internal doubt is that it's Ryukishi just repeating himself.
Oh, it definitely is. It's Ryukishi's character trait flowing into his characters.
Yeah.
Right?
If you can perform an autopsy on him, you should check his brain carefully.
Oh, yes.
Maybe you'll find something like a tumor there.
Or a piece of rebar. My father had already been cremated.
But there was a piece of rebar in his grave.
In the corpse. It's like the gold tooth or whatever in the skull. Like, you'll be there. So there was no way of knowing. Oh. But hearing about his behavior, I knew for certain that was the only way to explain why such a quiet and gentle man would change. I tried to explain all this to my relatives to regain my father's honor, but hardly anyone understood. If his brain was damaged, he would have been dead, but he was alive and well. So the accident didn't damage his brain. It wasn't his brain that caused him to change. It was his mind. They simply brushed it off like that, as though those are two separate things. Not to me!
This reminds me of the many times my friends who work in scientific fields complain to me of when their family's like, what? Your field of expertise, you don't know anything about it. Here's my opinion.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's like...
Trust my opinion, please.
I don't know how constant it is for people who work in science, but I feel like I hear about it a lot from the friends I know who do.
I mean, I see it in the news a lot, but that's a whole other topic.
That's a different debate. That's a different debate.
They simply brush it off like that. This is the perception most people have about the brain. They don't realize the mind and the brain are connected. Most of the relatives didn't believe me, but there was one person who I really wanted to anyway. That was my mother. My mama. As she got older, she grew senile, and she exaggerated the abuse. She had to endure. All she did was criticize my father. And every time she ended up crying, lamenting that she married him. They were a lovely couple. We were a great family. That's why I wanted to convey to her that she was misunderstanding the situation with my father. My father's behavior was caused by his brain damage. What he did to her was very sad, but he didn't want to be that way. I told her that he wasn't at fault. But my mother didn't understand. Before she took her last breaths, I begged her to forgive my father. But her final words were, please don't bury me next to that man. My father wasn't at fault. He was simply the victim of a brain disorder. You don't complain to a person who's coughing because he has a cold.
Or you do.
I mean, are they covering that cold? Are they coughing in their arm? Do they have a mask on? Come on, guys.
Are they staying home?
Are they
being
social
responsible?
distancing? If not, then I will complain at them.
I will complain.
I will complain. Can't stop me. Irie, you aren't my real dad. Though it'd be pretty cool if he was. He's a cool guy. Because coughing is just a symptom, and he should be sympathized with. In my father's case, the symptoms weren't as obvious as a cough. They took the form of changes in personality, which are much harder to recognize. If I had studied the brain more, I could have explained it better to my mother so that she could have understood him. Then they could have been a nice couple again in heaven. When I realized that, I cried. And I also realized that there are plenty of people like my father in this world who are suffering from a disorder, yet they are misunderstood and despised for it. What you might call neurodivergent people as well. And then I found out. I found out about a miraculous cure for such disorders called a lobotomy. Ever since that day, I spent my days learning about the brain so I could help people who are suffering from mental illnesses. My father is gone, but if he was still alive, I could cure him myself. So he and my mother could reconcile. That's the main reason why I am here. Boom. He just wants to help people because he had a shitty relationship with his family and he wanted to fix it. He wants to fix everything. He wants to fix everyone else's relationships with the family. And if they don't have a family, he feels even more sympathy. That's a through line.
I'm shocked.
That's good stuff.
What's next?
That's a great question. Sorry, I was busy reading the text. All right, what was that? Number 6 was that?
I believe so.
Number 7 is on screen 2.
All right, what do we got? What do
You
we
want
got?
to pick
What
one?
do we got?
Which one do you think it is? Which one do you think it might be? Which one do you think it might be?
No.
Which one do you think it might be? Which one could it be? Could be any of them. Could be one of 8.
I actually don't know.
Which one? You just pick one. You got 1 in 7 chance. This is going to get easier as we go forward.
Let's go this one, I guess.
You're correct.
Really?
That's the one. Yeah. Requesting assistance from a queen. That's the one. Let's learn about the research that is stagnated. Instructions for the kidnapping operation of the minister's grandson are required. Oh, is Rika actually the mastermind of the kidnapping? Is that actually the case?
So the scene where they were talking before about getting someone close to death.
There was someone. The plan was to like wait for someone in the hospital to be like dying and then grab them. That was like.
So what's this second line about the minister's grandson then? Because that hasn't explicitly come up yet, and all of the other clues.
Well, I mean, they mentioned it when Takano and Toмотaki were like, "Oh, the damn conflict will definitely be ended soon."
Right.
Wink,
okay.
wink. Arc 4. See, it's come up.
Yeah. Okay. I was kind of expecting it to be a bit more explicit because it felt like the others have been thus far, but
it's all right.
I'm clicking the button.
Let's do it. Let's do this scene. That very night, the head of the Furuto family, the priest, gathered his wife and Rika together for a family meeting. In Inamizawa, it was tradition for the 3 families to gather and discuss the village's issues. So it was highly unusual for big families like the Sonozaki family and
Did
the
you
Kimiyoshi.
just see a bunch of extra text flash up on screen?
I thought I saw something. We'd have to check the tapes, but it's fine. And the Kimiyoshi family to have meetings beforehand to sort out opinions among themselves. The thing is, whenever I think I see like more text flash up, I think it's because I'm like moving my head out from behind this mic, so I actually see it with my 2 eyes
I'll have
instead
to
of my
check
1
that
eye.
in editing.
Check it. Let me know. And was the truck harmed? These are the real questions. However, the Frodo family has lost its ranch families, so there are only 3 of them left. They're an endangered species, despite being the most important family. Fucking somehow. So until that day, they had never had a family meeting at all. So I guess this is Mum. You should probably play Mum for reasons.
Have we had a voice for her yet?
I don't know.
I swear one of us played her in the scene in Arc 4.
You know what? I might have, but I mean, it should be you. Regardless of who did it, it should be you.
What is it? You're being so formal. Is it about the dam construction?
The dam was the most important issue in the village at the moment. The wife, naturally assumed the priest wanted to talk about the dam. For him to gather all of them together like that, it must be a huge decision that he had to make. Perhaps he was going to talk about the joining. Joining the crew evacuation camp. I'm sorry.
The translators make enough mistakes. You don't need to rail on them any harder.
It was pretty fun. It was a translation mistake. That was just a weird, like, echoing phrase of, like, the wife and the priest and the dam. Like, it's like a song coming together.
The wife, the priest,
the wife and the priest and the dam. Like, that's where it's going.
It'd be the damned, though.
Yeah. The wife and the priest and the damned walk into a bar.
That's not the line I would follow that up with.
What would you follow it up with? You're the musician here. Look, I'm here to write sick raps, sick beats.
First of all, something that had, flow, then something that had a bit of thematic consistency.
No. That's dumb. That's dumb. Who needs the make consistency when you have the damn?
I have no further comments.
Well, you have to hit next before I can read the next line and end this madness. No, it's not about the dam, but it is about something extremely important which concerns this village, and perhaps all the ancestors of the villagers too. The Frodo family had served in the priesthood of Oshiro-sama, the guardian deity of the village, for generations. That's a long-ass time. So for him, the head of the family, to start out that way, it must be something extremely important.
Is that the sounds of a beach and seagulls in the background behind the cicadas?
I can hear water.
I swear I heard seagulls in the last loop.
That's so weird. Time for us to sit here for the next 10 minutes.
Uh-huh. There's like a little woo-woo, woo-woo.
Yeah, maybe. Look, isolate that shit. Bring it to the forefront. Let us know. Enhance. Alrighty. It must be something.
There.
I can hear it, actually. It's very strange. It must be something extremely important. Yet, he said it wasn't about the dam. So what could he want to talk about? What's in the box? This is him talking?
Yes.
Okay. I married into this family. Of course it is, because of reasons. I married into this family, so I want you and Rika, who carry the true blood of the Frodo family, to listen very carefully. You two aren't normal human beings. Oh, I'm the reincarnation of Oshiro-sama, alright? That's pretty cool. His mom.
Rika, you shouldn't say such things. Dear, let's talk about things like that without her. She's heard enough nonsense from the elderly people at the village hall already.
What she just said about her being the reincarnation of Oshiro-sama, that appears to be true.
What?
What? So I, a member of not this family, will tell you about the lore of your family, because that's how this works. It is a rather long story. Please, sit tight and listen to me. The wife had a dumbfounded expression on her dumb face, not knowing what he was going to say, but Rika, it's almost like she'd seen this before. Wearing her usual carefree expression. The priest started to talk after his wife calmed down. There is a disease in this village that has been here for many years. It's a special disease which only exists here, in this area. Everyone who lives in this village has this disease. Not only the people who live here now, but all the people who ever lived here had the disease.
What? But we're all perfectly healthy. I've never heard of a disease exclusive to this village.
Calm yourself, woman. As long as we are here in the village, the disease won't cause any problems. But once you move away from this village, that is when it starts to act out. Do you understand?
How can you expect me to understand such a thing? I have no idea what you're talking about.
It's the same as the curse of Oyashiro-sama. Rika said it so calmly while her mother became frustrated. She was dumb. That is correct. They say that when you leave this village, you are cursed. It's just like that. In other words, the curse of Oyashiro-sama, which our ancestors have feared for generations, is actually a disease that only exists in this village.
How could that be possible? We've left the village before. Other villages too. Some have gone on business trips and some have even traveled to foreign countries.
He's saying what we're all thinking. True, but that's because the disease has weakened over a very long time. So it was going to disappear eventually. But the business with the dam has disrupted that process. Everyone knew that during the dam war, the entire village was aflame with agitation. Such excitement and emotional instability makes the disease stronger.
I still don't know what you're trying to say. What we thought was a curse all this time was actually caused by the disease?
That's correct. All the rules Oyashiro-sama came up with were to protect the villagers from the disease.
No way. Then Oyashiro-sama is actually a disease, not a god.
What?
How could that be? How can I explain that to the Furude family ancestors?
Calm yourself. The faith in Oyashiro-sama won't change. The fact that Oyashiro-sama is watching over Hinamizawa will remain the same.
I have this book by Ian Plant to justify this.
Oh god. No. Modes of myth. Here, let me describe this for you. It just means the disease producing Oyashiro-sama's curse was in this village since long ago, that is all.
I won't accept that. How can I explain that to our ancestors? This is a desecration of the Furude family's age-old traditions. No, this is a desecration of Oyashiro-sama. Who told you such a thing? This isn't acceptable. In the first place, can you prove such a disease actually exists?
No. Oh, I can! What?
What kind of proof? Who gave it to you?
What a twist. The people from the Ministry of Health and the National Institute of Infectious Disease Prevention, also known as NIDP. They've already found the pathogen, and they are searching for a cure right now. I saw the documents and the samples last week. The people at the Ministry of Health call it Hinamizawa Syndrome. It's like the name of a bad horror movie.
No way.
No way, yes way. As long as you lead a normal life, the syndrome is harmless. But once you go far from Hinamizawa, or if you become emotionally unstable, it's easy for the disease to manifest itself. When the disease acts out, you can be possessed by your own delusions, and in the worst case scenario, you can go mad. They discovered this disease during the war. A distinguished scholar noticed that only the soldiers from Hinamizawa came down with an abnormal disease, and he has been researching it all these years. They explained some details of this research, but I'm sorry, they are too complicated for me to explain. If you don't believe what I'm saying, why don't you go listen to them yourself? At first, I was indignant too, wondering how they dared to blaspheme Oyashiro-sama and spout such heresy. Nonsense. The Irie clinic was built to study the syndrome. It appears to be just a clinic on the outside, but it's actually a secret military research center for studying the syndrome on the inside.
Secret research? That's ridiculous. If it's actually backed by the Ministry of Health, why aren't they doing it out in the open?
But it's sketchy as fuck. Well, I guess they can't. For example, I think about leprosy victims who are misunderstood and exiled. They are still misunderstood and discriminated against, even today, in fact. If the whole country finds out about this and thinks that everyone in Hinamizawa who has contracted this weird disease can go mad at any moment, it'll turn into chaos. The Ministry of Health has taken that into consideration and is working on developing a cure while keeping the disease a secret. Don't get me wrong, though, they aren't trying to put us on display or anything. They are trying to eliminate this disease and free this village from it, or turn it into a weapon. But that's fine. It was a different story long ago when we supported ourselves, but nowadays it's impossible not to leave the village. If a simple act of leaving the village can trigger the disease, you realize how dangerous it is for the villagers, right? I'm repeating myself now, but in the recent dam protest, the whole village got really angry, which is very bad for the syndrome.
The entire thing of the defense force,
yeah,
doing this research to make a weapon, but also actually trying to cure people. It seems kind of sci-fi.
Yeah, it is.
But it's not. Because that's actually what most modern militaries do.
Yeah.
Right?
If they're working on both like halves of disease, right?
Well, yeah, because like, think about, for example, I think the most public example I can think of at the moment is that Destin Sandlin from Smarter Every Day recently went to a like Arctic ice flow expedition that the US Navy was running or heavily participating in to look at researching ice flows, and it's about understanding albedo, global warming, climate change, how, you know, ice in the Arctic works. But it's also a strategic mission to figure out how to navigate under the ice in the Arctic. Yeah. And it's like this. I mean,
they both go hand in hand, right? This thing, like when you're trying to understand a new scientific concept, if you ignore one half of like how the disease works, like how it, like specifically for disease, like how they propagate, then you're not going to understand how to control it, right? Like you need to understand how to make it and how to like. It's two halves of the same coin. You can't just throw one out.
It's the same for like shell shock and all of the medicine that was discovered in the First World War and like rocketry in the Second World War.
Oh my God, rocketry.
Like,
shout out to the space race.
Yeah, like, you know, I guess I'd been thinking of this as a very, like, as I said, sci-fi out there concept.
Yeah.
Because it kind of is in the way that it frames the disease, but the actual concept of the military doing this research for a weapon, but also helping people, that's just what happens.
I mean, yeah, like, I mean, you know, it's pretty obvious, but like war is one of the biggest like pushes of technology. I'm English bad, but like when a war comes around, that's when technology like speeds up because you're trying to beat the competition. But what that eventually leads to is that the principles that we learn like from rocketry, like how do we get the enemy to explode faster? Leads to then when the war ends, like, well, now what do we do with all these explosives we have? Let's make a space race, right? Like that's the basic principle of like, it's like, it really comes back to like the ethical principle of like, when we're researching technology in the broadest sense, it's not about like this technology is evil or this technology is good. It's about like how you use it. Like I always come back to how like fireworks is like a fun thing. And then someone's like, what if we put fireworks in a gun? Right? Like what if we shot things at people using fireworks? Wouldn't that be cool? Like all of these different technologies, and I mean, as you point out, it's a very kind of cartoony way they're framing it in this story, but like all of these different technologies started out one way, but we can apply them in all sorts of different directions. And like even just by understanding how, in this story, how Hinamizawa's syndrome works, enables us to apply that theory to other diseases. Yeah. Allows us to understand them better. And like
there's also, there's this very, this one's a bit more obvious, but there's also this very grim undertone to the fact that effectively they've known about the disease for like 40 years, and only when they figured out how to finally make a weapon out of it, where they're like, all right, let's do it.
Oh, that's when the funding comes in, right? That's when the military is like, we have all of this money that we can use on our medical stuff, on our like military stuff, so why don't we push that towards funding this research here? That sounds cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's how money works. It's great. Well, if some villages go crazy and do something horrible, it'll be all over the media. That's right. If it happens, it'll be too late.
But how can I believe this? Are you sure we're dealing with people from the government? Are you sure we aren't being tricked?
I don't blame you for not being able to believe it. They said we can come take a look at their facility anytime.
I love how they're also being lied to and tricked.
It's great. It's only for positive things. It's great. I've seen it before, and I know that no mere fraud could have set up something like that. Even the big hospitals in Gogara don't have such large-scale equipment. If you can't believe what I just told you, you should go to the research center yourself and ask questions. They can explain it better than I can. They said if their explanation isn't good enough, they can explain it to you at the National Research Institute, also known as the NRI, in Tokyo, or even at the Ministry of Health's main office.
Whether I believe it or not, how are we related to that?
Oh, here we go. It is said that the Furure family inherited the blood of Oyashiro-sama, and it is also said that if a girl was born for 8 continuous generations, that the 8th generation girl would be the reincarnation of Oyashiro-sama and be able to talk to a ghost girl.
That's right.
Meep. That's right. Wait, hold on.
No, that's my line. I've read it before it appeared on screen. Come on, Ben.
You gotta get on this.
I'm the 7th, and Rika is the 8th generation, but what does that have to do with the disease?
It means she can speak to a ghost girl. Weren't you listening? The Tsunamizawa syndrome is caused by a type of parasite. Although they're very tiny, you can't even see them with the naked eye. They say there's a sort of leader among these parasites, like the Borg.
Hey, are you saying that's the Furude family?
Yes, and Rika is the Borg queen. It appears that the leader of these parasites is passed down through the generations only by people with a direct bloodline to the Furude family. In other words, in the previous generation it was you, and now it is Rika. Meep.
That's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. Why would it be something as disgusting as parasites in the first place?
Calm yourself. I'm not good at explaining things. Despite this husky voice, please have the experts explain it to you. According to them, studying the parasite leader is necessary in order to research the disease.
No, I won't have anything to do with such suspicious research, and Rika won't either.
Here we go. I'm telling you to calm down. They think that Hinamizawa syndrome acts out when separated from the parasite leader, not the village itself. When you were little, do you remember villagers telling you that you had psychic powers? You were able to cure elderly people who got migraines after taking a long trip. That's the proof that you were carrying the parasite leader. The Furude bloodline has the power to cure people with the disease. To discover a cure, it's extremely important that we participate in their research. If they study me, will the villagers be saved? That's what they say. And all the villagers are infected? Me? Everyone else? Sadako too? Yes, not only the people who live in the village, but their relatives in Okonomiya too. We're talking thousands of people. That is why the Ministry of Health spent so much money to build a specialized research center.
I object. How can you let Rika be a sacrifice for something that's suspicious?
Overruled. Well, I don't mind. If Sadako can be saved, I don't mind being a sacrifice. I really don't.
Takano furiously taking notes. You be quiet, Rika. I absolutely refuse. I'll go talk to them and refuse them directly. I won't let them kill Rika in some crazy experiment. Besides, Rika is the one and only heir of the Furude family. What if something happens to her? Furude family will die right there. Don't you see that? You need to think more about our family. That's why the villagers call you an opportunist.
Oh, God.
After all, don't you think it's odd? The Ministry of Construction is trying to submerge the village and the Ministry of Health is trying to cure a disease. What in the world is going on?
It's a great question. The Ministry of Health has warned that this disease could be triggered by a change in environment, so they're actually trying to have the Ministry of Construction stop the damn construction plan. You really should go to the research center. Why would they build such a huge facility and location that could be submerged?
It's a submarine.
Oh, it's like a yawn, like.
Mm-hmm.
Rika let out a big yawn. It was long past bedtime for a little girl like her. I'm going to bed now. Dad, please let them know I'm willing to participate, okay?
Rika, you can't make such a decision without consulting me. Rika, wait, Rika!
You're dumb. Get out of here. There you go. We've learned.
Dabbed on, Mom.
Get dabbed on. Do you think that Rika would dab? Do you think that's like
Absolutely.
her signature move? Okay. I reckon Sadako probably
Buff
calls her
Rika
out
would
for it.
definitely dab.
I agree. She would like JoJo's stand, like, you dare to approach me, and then she would dab. That would be her like stand shit.
What?
Have you not seen that meme where it's like, you dare to approach me, and it's like they're just like walking towards each other, but it's framed like really
Yeah.
really dramatically.
Is that from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure?
Is that a motherfucking JoJo reference?
You're losing me again.
What?
You're losing me again.
Are you not familiar with the meme? Is that a motherfucking JoJo reference?
I'm not.
Oh my god, I need to educate you so much. Somebody
I'm too much of a boomer
in the
for
chat. I know, right?
You fucking
This is
zoomer.
fucking millennial. Let's go. This is why somebody should in the chat post all your favorite JoJo memes. Just post like a folder or a clip show, and I will make sure that Jacono watches it. That's very important. So what was that? That was from screen 2, right? That was the top right one on
I
screen 2?
hope so.
Good. We need to do the top left one on screen, the one that we haven't obviously done yet. That one. I believe so. Yeah, that one. Do that one.
All right.
That one seems like fun. We probably occasionally save just in case. When researching Hinamizawa syndrome, there is something very important that needs to be discussed first. If something happens to the Queen Carrier, the Boar Queen, the village will collapse and the starship will explode. In his article,
My grandfather called it the most dangerous situation. According to my grandfather, if the Queen Carrier dies, all the infected persons will go terminal within 48 hours. What the fuck?
that's pretty fucked.
This may sound unbelievable at first, yes, you're right, but research on the collapse of past local regions and group suicides around the world should indicate that there's some truth to that. Among all the mysterious incidents around the world, there are some that were caused by parasites controlling entire communities, very similar to Hinamizawa syndrome. Grandfather picked a few cases that are very similar to the syndrome and investigated them using very similar language. As a result, he confirmed multiple cases of entire communities losing their minds after the death of a religious leader or founder and finally annihilating themselves. He stated that, on average, it happened within 48 hours. It's clear that infected people are affected by the Queen Carrier, and the condition of the Queen Carrier is in fact affecting the entire village. Our statistics already proved that on weeks Rika felt sick and visited the clinic, we saw an exceptionally high number of visitors. Rika being sick with a simple cold had a massive impact. If something particularly bad happened to her, we'd be facing a serious situation within 48 hours. That's why the Irie Institute has to protect Rika Furude, the Queen Carrier. It's the most important mission of the Hinamizawa Syndrome Research Project.
It'd be a shame if something would have happened to that queen lady.
Yes. She's already agreed to help us in our research, but we have to be very careful not to put her in any danger. Also, we have to protect her from anyone who would try to harm her. Her life was equal to the lives of 2,000 villagers. But what if something happens to her by accident? The Irie Institute must prepare for that situation. That's why I worked on the draft of an emergency manual when the Irie Institute was first established. It's a precaution in the case the Queen Carrier dies, or if infected people show acute symptoms due to the death of the Queen Carrier. This is an emergency procedure which must be followed within 48 hours of the mass occurrence of the acute symptoms. The final measure is to prevent the damage from spreading to nearby areas. The plan uses gas, making it look like a natural disaster. My client, Google, took the responsibility of working out the details of the plan.
That's true.
They're used to dealing with things like nuclear and biological weapons, so they ended up being such a big help. There's no way I could have come up with a plan on my own to execute 2,000 villages. Through a dummy company, the ground SDF has secured a closed quarry in the Higurashi region upstream of Hinamizawa. It's to be the secret storage base for the equipment we'd use in that operation. Equipment that sprays deadly gas that kills people as if they were falling asleep is stored here. In the case of emergency, a special unit of the ground SDF is to use this equipment to destroy the village. However, preparing for the execution of the villages itself is politically dangerous, so if I'm going to insist on them getting the equipment ready, I have to make them understand how dangerous Hinamizawa is, and also how urgent the need is to have a contingency plan. I have to prove the need for the plan by showing them enough data, so the files my grandfather kept intact come in quite handy. When the clients read my grandfather's articles about the syndrome, they were surprised to see how catastrophic things could be in the worst-case scenario. In other words, if something happens to this girl, the Queen Carrier...
In other words, if something happens to this girl, the Queen Carrier, all 2,000 of these villages will become deranged. Is that what you're saying?
I'm just gonna take a point for that. Thank you very... Actually, wait. Yes, we'll take a point for that.
Yay!
Take a point. Yes, there have been several cases similar to Hinamizawa syndrome where group suicides took place. In the case of the syndrome, we can easily expect extreme defensive behavior which results from deep paranoia. The result may affect all 2,000 plus carriers. From there on, we may face abnormal situations involving lawless violence and bizarre religious despondence. We must be ready to face such a situation by having a contingency plan, otherwise we'll draw attention from the rest of the world. We have to remember that we only have 48 hours to respond once it happens.
Are you saying that if it happens, there's nothing anyone can do?
Can't you treat everyone in 48 hours?
There it is.
That'll be impossible. We don't even have a cure, and the research center isn't capable of taking in all the villages.
Yeah, frightening to realize such a disease actually exists. The world is full of mysteries.
Constant vigilance against the worst-case scenario supports our national defense and is one of the ideas behind Google. Besides, our goal is not to use the plan, but it's vital to be prepared.
There are no lies in what you just said there. None. Indeed, precisely as you say. I'd still like to look into strengthening the rules of approval authority behind applying the plan, but I understand the necessity to prepare our response for a worst-case scenario. Let's have the Uberon. This isn't Takano? It's not.
She'd never make such an obvious typo.
I think so? Okay. Let's have the Uberon suppression research team run a simulation of the Hinamizawa suppression operation in the region. I think we should get it going as soon as possible. It's possible that the Queen Carol girl may be hit by a car and be killed at any moment. Thank you, Major Takano. We have further questions, so you can sit down.
Thanks to a push from one of my backers, things were decided without too much of a problem. It took me almost all day to explain it to them, but it only took a short time to come to a decision. Nobody criticized, ridiculed, or tried to reject my grandfather's articles out of hand. In the files they're all reading today are the very same shameful articles those haughty authorities left their footprints on as they trampled them in my grandfather's heart. But they aren't ridiculing the articles. They're reading what was once rejected. It's nothing big at a glance, but in this moment, my grandfather's research is being recognized for the first time.
Yay!
My heart is filled with satisfaction to see people discussing amongst each other while pointing to my grandfather's files and raising them as proof. I've worked so hard for this day. Grandpa in heaven, can you see this?
What about the people on Earth?
What about the times that Rika wasn't killed by Takano, and then mysteriously the village wasn't gassed and not everyone went crazy?
Who knows? Who knows?
Sure is suspicious.
Sure is very suspicious. One might infer some things from that information. All right, what are we on? We're on screen 2. That was number 8. We are heading to screen 4.
Let's go.
Screen 4, number 9. Screen 4, number 9. That's the one. There's a depression of a Shinto priest. A shopping trip is required. The Shinto priest contacting the Irie institution is required. These are written in such a weird way. Like, I kind of love it. I guess it's like honey.
I mean,
like,
they're meant to be like slightly cryptic, but not difficult, it seems.
Yeah.
And as I said last time, it'd be interesting to see like how constrictive the grid is in terms of its order.
Yeah.
Because like this one only has like 2 things that it says are required, but we've done a bunch more here.
For sure.
So you could probably do a stack of these out of order.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't think it'd be too hard.
As I said, we'll stream that though. We'll stream that.
Yeah, we'll go into that later. But just for convenience sake, we're going to go through this in order. Getting that shit.
Don't forget to drop in the comments if you have any particularly interesting things you want to see us stream from this, such as if there are bonus scenes if you fuck up you want us to see.
If you want us to see Hanyu complain about how terrible we are at ordering fragments.
Alternatively, because I'm sure we will absolutely not remember it by the time this comes out, you could just see us go through and try and solve it.
True.
And see how long it takes us, because we won't remember.
We won't.
It's this one, right?
Screen 4. Yes, it is that one. Number 9. The gathering place inside of the Furude Shrine is in fact the headquarters of the Onigafuchi Guardians. Normally a shrine should be a calm and quiet place, but there are anti-damn shrines. There are anti-damn shrines everywhere.
That's right.
Making it very obvious what this damn location has become. Fuck the dam. There are over 30 members of the Guardians here at the moment, and they are having a heated conversation about their plans for the future.
I don't think we should let Thor onto the team.
I agree. Although this meeting place is on the Furude family's property, it's a community facility, so it closes at 9 p.m. Of course, sometimes the discussion gets so heated that it goes on past closing time when all the candles have been blown out, but meetings are supposed to end by 9.
Furude family goes to go to bed, and then just a council ranger walks into their house. It's like, all right, out you get. They just lie down on the gravel, pass out.
Picks them up by the pants, throws them out, yeah. Oh, God. If a discussion ends early, they usually chit-chat until that time. That's fun. That's what I do with Chrono here.
That's
we
right.
Don't finish recording in time, we chit-chat. That's what usually happens. Of course, they mostly talk about the dam even when they chit-chat. They talk about someone's mistreatment at the government office or someone getting arrested unjustly or complain that the people at the dam construction site are too violent. Police brutality is pretty shitty, am I right? Since it's idle chatter, Since it's idle chatter, the topics are slightly emotional, and because of that, there was a good deal of bad-mouthing the Hojos, because they suck. Then she threw the circulation notes away. Can you believe that?
That woman is crazy. Just the other day, she got into a huge argument with Makino-san's grandmother at the trash pickup.
Ew, not Makino-san's grandmother. You know, the husband is so rude, too. He's so irrational.
Did you see him at the explanatory meeting? That was bad, huh? I can't believe they're still here. I wish they'd just leave. He said something about money. He has absolutely no shame.
I wish they'd just fall off a cliff. No, if you talk about being irrational, his wife is the same or even worse.
Oh yeah, we are going to get a scene about that, hey.
Hype.
It must be hereditary.
Oh, God.
I see their daughter shopping quite often, and so I used to say hello to her, but she never replied. Can you believe that? So I got tired of it, and I don't say anything to her anymore.
Y'all shitty old people. Hey, this son always looks so depressed, doesn't he?
I was really hoping that was going to be a sentence instead of just a laugh.
No, that was it. By now, the Hojo family has become the enemy of the whole village and everyone bullies them. Bad-mouthing the Hojo family was the greatest shared topic that anyone could easily contribute to. So don't bully people, guys. If he had known how powerful the three families were, especially the Sonozaki family, and if he had known Orio-san's character, he wouldn't have said the things he did. The Hojo couple are residents here. Though they were never very enthusiastic about the Count's activities, they should have known what kind of person Orio-san is. He could have imagined just what would happen to him if he talked to her that way. Yet, he let his anger take over and voice his unpleasant feelings.
Unpleasant.
He rocked the boat. How dare you? So most people think the Hojo family brought their isolation upon themselves. If they wanted to negotiate with the government regarding the move, they should have done so privately. Yet he was foolish enough to express himself at a public gathering like that, like a dummy, so not too many sympathize with the Hojo family. I love this rationalization of fucking discrimination. It's great. Ever since the big fight at the explanatory meeting, the Sonozaki family has looked at the Hojo family as their enemy and decided to go after them. That caused the other pro-dam families to go quiet, fearing they'd be made into scapegoats too, and those who wanted to leave were bitterly forced to give up. Even those people started criticizing the Hojo couple, saying they could have gotten their compensation to leave if the two hadn't picked that reckless fight. Both the anti-dam and pro-dam people hate the Hojos now, and the family has become even more isolated. Moreover, the Hojos are both very aggressive. Really? Okay. They should have stayed quiet at least until things settled down, but they did not, because they were dumb. That alienated the handful of people who took pity on them as well, so now nobody even says anything to them, because they're dumb. All of that was immediately obvious by listening to the foul talk here and there at the gathering place. Rika always helps out by putting the teacups away, so I'm sure she hears what they say as well. One of the Hojo family members they're bad-mouthing is Rika's friend, Sadako-chan. It hurts to think about what Rika feels while hearing that. As priest of the Furude Shrine, should I let this continue? Oishio-sama is a god who makes peace between enemies. When the humans and demons fought, Oishio-sama descended from heaven and mediated between both sides. As the caretaker of this shrine, I must do something before it goes too far. I'm sitting next to Orio-san, who is spitefully disparaging the Hojo family. So that ass was talking shit to me! Who the hell cares? He'll be cursed by Oshiro-sama, that's for sure! The elderly people cheer her as they listen to her speak. If I barge in now, I have a feeling it won't be a peaceful conversation. But I have to make up my mind. As the priest of the Furude Shrine, also for the sake of Rika's very good best friend, Sadako-chan. Orio-san, don't you think you've said enough by now? Huh? What the hell are you trying to tell me? Well, I am sure Hojo-san really didn't mean what he said. Isn't it a bit much for this kind of treatment to go on for so long? Shut up! You heard what he said, didn't you? When you pissed, he pissed me off. Shit. Orio-san is the head of the Sonozaki family, the heir to the demons. She never forgives anyone who stands against her. so there is no way she would even listen to what I am trying to say. Oreo-san and the others became furious and refused to listen to me. I also mentioned that the damned construction plan will be cancelled soon, so they should calm down already. I said that because the staff at the Irie clinic told me that the government is putting some kind of pressure on the Ministry of Construction by kidnapping his son, Jerry, who we love. But thinking that I'm being an opportunist, soon criticism of me began to circulate the room. After that, I realized that I have become branded as a fence-sitter. If the demons are willing to listen, then there's a chance to make peace. But how can I make peace with people who refuse to listen? I destroyed their mood, so I just have to give up and shut my mouth. Then, I felt a little hand upon my back. Rika, it's getting late. Why don't you go home?
No matter how hard we try, we can't reach them.
Rika looked into the distance while she spoke. Still Rika, yeah? Yeah.
The evil of this corrupted village is probably beyond the means of those of us living in that muck, but I won't lose hope. Surely, someone who will destroy this stagnation will arrive. Very soon. I know.
Her eyes shone as if seeing a future that only the maiden of the Fude Shrine could see.
Fuck yes!
Go, Rika, go. Be a
Well done, team.
Cool little anime girl. Predicting the future and being all, Keiichi's gonna fuck shit up because he's the best. Perhaps he can destroy this cruel fate.
All right.
Let's find out where we have to go next. What page are we on? Page 4?
We go to... Do we
Number
get
9.
Sadako's introduction now?
No. We're going to screen 2. We got more backstory to do, dude. Alright. We're going for the... You want me to tell you? You only have 5 to pick from. Surely you could figure it out. Surely you could figure out which one of these has to be picked. It seems pretty obvious to me.
Well, it has to be this one, right?
Yeah. A murder with a dismembered body.
Because Shirakawa Park is Sadako's parents, right?
Yeah, it is. So both of those related to Sadako's parents' death. And the bat is obviously Sadashi's murder of his aunt. So this is it. Early summer, 1979 AD. Oh, shit. Hello. Love that sound effect. We'll take this character. Shit. Damn it. Shit. Manager, come on, say something, manager.
You idiot, he's dead already.
Oh, man. Clang. A loud noise snapped everyone out of it. Someone dropped the shovel he was holding. The shovel was smeared with reddish-black blood. No, not just the shovel. All 6 construction workers' bloods were blood-soaked too. Lots of blood. One of them cried out to the silent dead body of the manager, which was drenched in blood. Oh, manager, oh.
Shut up. He's already dead. For self-defense, right? Self-defense.
Oh, shit, man. The fight had started after the manager yelled at them for drinking beer inside the office. There were no drinking and no smoking signs everywhere. The manager harshly scolded at anyone who broke that rule. So it was the 6 workers' fault for disobeying, but they drank because they were stressed out by the anti-dam protesters. That's why they said things to provoke the manager. They told him to step out, and the others went along. The construction workers toiled hard and long hours. That's why they instigated the fight with the manager, to release their stress. They expected to just curse at each other or to end up in a wrestling match, but things escalated, or to put it more accurately, the manager exploded all of a sudden. The manager had to deal with the residents' protests as well, so he was under just as much pressure, or maybe even more. But how he changed was not normal. The manager was calm at first, but he gradually became more aggressive, and it was like he transformed into someone completely different. No, it was like he was possessed by something evil. The men who instigated the fight sobered up when they saw this behavior. And then, the manager picked up a shovel that was nearby and tried to smash his opponent's head in with it. He managed to avoid the hit, but if he didn't, his head would have surely been split open. The manager kept pounding on him with the shovel, even as he frantically tried to avoid the hits. By this time, the workers had realized this was beyond a simple fight, so they tried to hold the manager down. But the manager turned on them with the shovel too. One of the men tried to protect himself by crossing his arms over his head, but there was no way they could have blocked a shovel swung with such force. Blood spurted out and the man groaned in pain. By this time, the 6 men had realized that the manager was not his usual self. This manager would try to bash in their brains without hesitation. Since their opponent was using a shovel as his weapon, they had to find some kind of weapon too. One of them grabbed a huge hammer. Sledgehammer? Shit. Then the others realized they needed to find something as well. To restrain the manager in that condition, it was better to arm themselves. And nothing could go wrong. It wasn't supposed to be this way. It didn't take that long for the mass to infect the 6 workers. It was only a matter of time before they went from restraining him to lynching him. By the time they realized what had happened, the man was already a lump of meat. His face was swollen, shreds of skin had been torn off, and his muscles and skull were visible too. Obviously, he was quite dead.
Fuck, he almost killed us, remember? If he hadn't attacked us, we wouldn't have fought him, right?
The leader of the 6, the one who instigated the fight, tried to bring the rest to his side, but nobody replied. And so, the leader became frustrated. He was the one who started the fight, the rest simply joined in. He was the main perpetrator. If that was why he was feeling so exasperated, he sensed that he was the one at fault.
Don't just stand there like a limp noodle. It's too late. We killed him, and there's nothing we can do about it. We're all murderers now. Buckle up. You ain't thinking about turning yourself in and doing time, are you? Fuck you. I can't go to the slammer at my age. We're hiding it. We're hiding this corpse and pretending nothing happened.
Some of them knew he was on probation for an assault incident once before, so if he got into trouble with the law again, the punishment would be more severe than they could possibly imagine. That was why he was trying desperately to find a way out. That info is not in the anime. Anyway, if he was alone with the manager's body, then he wouldn't have behaved this way. All he would have to do was hide the manager's body and pretend nothing happened. But there were 6 of them, including him. They were partners in crime and witnesses too. If even one of them squealed out of guilt, he'd be in big trouble. But even if we hide the body, they'll find out sooner or later.
Instead, we should plead justifiable self-defense and they might end up pardoning us. Don't be so stupid. Look at what we've done. Look at his face. Who would think this is the result of self-defense? His parents wouldn't even be able to identify him in this condition, you idiot.
But even if we tried to hide it, everyone's going to find out tomorrow morning when the manager doesn't show up. It's hopeless.
What's hopeless is your damn brain, you shithead.
Bonk. Oh, there it is. He slapped the other man in the face. The leader had such an evil look in his eyes.
Listen well, dipshits. We're all murderers, okay? Keep griping now and we'll all get slammed within 5 or 6 years. There's one of you here try and blab. We'll all be locked up. Don't underestimate the pen. If you're prepared to be caught anyway, then run like your life depends on it. And resign yourself to it when it's time to pay the piper.
Damn. His visage turned more and more demonic. It was the same expression the manager had just a few minutes before. Was he possessed by the same thing that possessed the manager? The 5 men started to think that way. Now that they considered it, all the villagers in the anti-dam protest had the same expression on their faces too. The real name of Inamizawa was Onigafuchi Village. People said that wicked demons lived there, and sometimes they possessed people. The men couldn't help but to recall that exaggerated story often told by the demonstrators. The manager swung the shovel after his expression changed to that demonic one. There was no guarantee this man wouldn't do the same. In fact, he was still squeezing the hammer in his hand, glaring at everyone and threatening them. If someone suggested surrendering, he'd probably smash the head in with it. Like a boss.
I know. To make sure nobody betrays the rest, I have an idea.
Oh.
It'll make it easier to hide the body, too.
What is it? Oh, boss.
We're gonna cut up the body into 6 pieces.
What? They all wanted to object to the idea. Killing him was a serious crime himself. Dismembering the body would be too much. But if they killed this guy as well, then they could hide both bodies. But if anyone objected, he'd be killed on the spot, so no one said anything.
We'll all cut him up together. Remember what the manager used to say? Teamwork. We're all in this. Together. Once you know who you are, we'll each take a body part and hide it responsibly. What do you think, huh? This way we're all equally guilty, right? I wouldn't let anyone give themselves up.
5 men were all taken back. Well, 5 men were all taken in by his ghastly face, and they could even feel the fear of the Onigafuchi demons creep up their backs.
Spooky.
Then they cut up the body and they divided it, and then one of them's still at large, apparently.
Well, I think before we continue, that's been about an hour and a quarter.
Yeah, well, that's been another 5, so it like rounds out
I think 5 at a time seems reasonable.
Yeah, we might change that if they get shorter or longer, but no, it's good stuff. So yeah, I mean, as I say, like there's not a lot to like unpack there. It's just like this is how the first murder happened, the first lynching. The manager went nuts, and a bunch of people killed him, and they were like, let's do another crime.
Yeah, like. If I had the time right now, it'd be kind of fun to go back and like look at the original descriptions of these scenes.
Yeah,
and see how it like stacks up.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. We've been chatting with someone named Robert Gott, who's a very fun murder mystery author. I highly recommend his William Powers series. He studies collective memory, and he was like inspired to write murder mystery. I mean, you know a lot of this, but like for audience sake. Like, he started to write murder mysteries pretty much because there was, like, a death in his hometown. This woman, like, drowned herself in a water tower. But that's not interesting. To say that, like, this good Christian girl just, like, died is, like, pretty boring. So all the, like, magazines and newspapers were like, how did she die? There was a missing ladder, so she couldn't possibly have killed herself. It must be an actual murder. And so, like, I think that, you know, same sort of thing in this story, seeing how the original lynching of this manager has been like conflated and changed over time, so that it's part of the big, you know, the big myth of like, and then the demons possess them and and it's like, it's just very interesting. I enjoy seeing like real life examples of that, because that's kind of how, for Robert Gott, that's how this story kind of turned out, is that it wasn't actually a murder mystery at all. It was just some lady killed herself because she was sad, which is like fucked up, but
I'll put a link in the description and a card up in the top right to the first of the 2 episodes in which we discussed that with Robert Gott himself.
Yeah.
It was part 1 and 3 of our discussion of Good Murder on Death of the Reader.
I think there's a really interesting dialogue that obviously you picked up on very early, but about how like storytelling changes historical events, and how like we conflate facts with fiction and reality with fantasy. And, it's something that obviously Higurashi is very, very interested in, and I think that's cool. It's good stuff.
Alrighty. Well, thank you for joining us here on Higurashi. I was just about to outro that like Death of the Reader, but really what we do on this show is we just say next time. Next time. Cuts to black, and then the audience is just left hanging.
That's it.